It's FT breaking news. We're live. Braun, Kratz, Pierzynski here. The Chicago White Sox making headlines during the Dodgers-Yankees World Series. Scott Merkin reporting Will Venable is going to be the next manager. The White Sox are not commenting yet. They're not allowed, okay, because it's the World Series. They might be allowed to do it on an off day or something, but Venable's the 44th manager in franchise history. Pedro Grifol was the manager for most of last year. They lost a ton of games. Grady Sizemore took over down the stretch. And AJ, they did say initially they were going to bring someone from outside the organization. Mm-hmm. They were tempted to stay within with Grady Sizemore, but I think he was in the final 2 or 3. Ultimately, they went with Venable.
Yeah, Venable's been a name that we've been hearing about as kind of one of the up-and-comers. He was in Texas last year when they won a World Series. He's been around a little bit. He was with the Cubs, I think, as a first base coach for a while. He played for a while. Smart guy, Ivy League guy, which everyone seems to be looking for right now. I've talked to Will Venable. Seems like a really nice guy. Played against him for a while. It's a hire that it's not a name that people know unless you're deep in baseball, because it's not like a Buck Showalter or Terry Francona or Joe Madden. It's not a, wow, this move is really something that we can get behind. But I think it's a solid move for the White Sox. And listen, they lost 121 games last year. It can't get worse. It can't. I know that people say it can always get worse. It really can't get worse at this point.
I hope he says that as press conference, Kratz. We're going to be better next year. That's it.
And just get up. That's it. Fat Joe and drop the mic.
And I'll kind of crumble on the ground. Yeah. Do you know, quick trivia, do you know who was the former teammate of Will Venable at Princeton? Princeton baseball? Young. Oh, did he play at the same time as Chris Young?
That was just my guess. You asked, maybe. So give you a guess.
Mike Chernoff. The GM of the Guardians.
Is that?
Oh, I was like
Chris Antonelli and Mike Chernoff.
Okay. He didn't get hired by the Guardians.
Yeah, he got hired by the White Sox. What does that have to do with anything? Is that just you trying to look smart?
No, another front office guy.
Oh.
Those two played together, and now they're leading front offices. No?
Oh.
In the AL Central? No, nothing? You don't think the Guardians and White Sox are going to make friends and start making deals? Because remember, there were issues with deal-making last year.
Maybe
the deadline.
The White Sox don't trade in the division, remember?
I know, but maybe that breaks it. That's why I brought it up. Maybe it was a smart little trivia fact. Okay? Hey.
But hey, listen, good for Will Venable, right? Good for him. Congratulations. You're a big league manager. There's only 30 of them, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, well, you never know. I mean, everyone, it's amazing. Every time a team hires a new manager, everyone's like, yeah, we're so excited. And then, remember how the excitement around Pedro Grifol when he got hired? I almost called him Griffin.
Nobody was.
That's not true. If you look at the White Sox fans, his first press conference, everyone was like, fundamentals. We're going to compete. We're going to go out there and kick their ass. And then all they did was get their ass kicked for 2 years. So,
What do you want to see? What do you want to see in year one as a White Sox fan that you
Accountability. Accountability and holding the players accountable. I want somebody that'll stand up there and say, this is what we're going to do. This is our philosophy that we're going to have. And I want them to say, and then when people make mistakes, it's okay to say, hey, Erik Kratz struck out with the bases loaded. Hey, AJ Pierzynski made an error when he threw the ball to second base, allowed the winning run to score. It's okay to say those kind of things. It's, yes, you still stand up for your players, but you have to be accountable, and you have to be able to be accountable in a way that still has your players believing in you. And I think Will Venable is smart enough to do that, because you can't just go out and all the time be like, we're working hard and we're doing this and we're doing that, rah, rah. But at some point, you got to look in the mirror and say, what we're doing isn't working, be willing to change. And I think that's the thing that was missing the last couple of years, is it was like, we're working so hard. We're showing up at the ballpark at 3 a.m. and we're going to outwork them. But, that doesn't matter. Just be accountable and tell the truth. Say what's happening. That's why, listen, the fans in Chicago are not the Cubs fans. I'm talking White Sox fans here. They're blue-collar, hardworking, most of them. Now, obviously, there's exceptions, right?
Sure.
But that's kind of what their MO is. So they want people that tell. That's why they loved Ozzie so much. Because Ozzie would be like, these guys suck today. And they were like, okay, we've all had bad days. We can deal with that, right? And then you got the players that the players were like they would interview me after the game, like, yeah, man, I struck out of the bases. It was just a bad day. We'll try and get it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Struck out because, I don't know, I just had a bad day. Sorry. They were like, okay, cool, right? Because you were like owning it, right? That's what they're looking for. They're looking for real people that will own it and be accountable and stand up and say, I sucked or I was good or whatever, and they'll get behind you. There's a lot of White Sox fans that will get behind you. But the key is standing up and being real with them.
Yeah. Remember at one point, Pedro Grifol called out his players, but his players said, essentially, you picked the wrong day to blast us.
They're like, nah, dog.
Nah, dog. They were like, that pitcher was dealing. To call us out on a day like today, remember, whatever day that was, I think the starter dealt like 7 shutout, and it's not like it was like, quote, bad at bats. They're like, nah, you don't have a feel. You lost us. So that got ugly. Of course.
Game feel.
Yeah, it wasn't there. It was really bad. Here's the key for me, Kratz. They brought someone in from outside the org. I know I said it already, but I can't say it enough. Will Venable, coming from a winning organization. They just won the World Series last year. He was working with Bruce Bochy and Chris Young. Mm-hmm. Yes, please. Bring more of that into Chicago. He might help the front office just as much as he helps the dugout, because he's seen everything going on in Texas, and clearly they did some things right because they led a team to a World Series title. Don't you think that helps alone? One of the biggest mistakes the White Sox have made in the last few years is not interviewing a ton of GMs, even if Jerry Reinsdorf said, I'm hiring Getz all along. It is free information. You get to interview people for free and find out what is going on in their brain, how they evaluate your franchise, and what other teams are doing that you're not. It's free, and you only get to do that when you're interviewing for big jobs like that. They blew it. Even if you felt that way, spend an extra week and talk to everyone. No one will ever know if you really had the decision all along. That was the big mistake. This at least puts them in a better direction. I think Chris Getz knew that. Hey, because he announced it pretty quickly, like, we're going outside the org. They need to get fresh faces into that organization.
I'm going to say this, though. I heard from numerous people that are deeper in that organization than I am, that they were really thinking it was going to be Grady Sizemore. They thought, really thought that this was going to be Grady Sizemore's job. And then, so they had kind of given up, and then you started seeing like Venable, Phil Nevin, and Guardians bench coach. His name is a crazy name, but I forget his name. But I mean, nothing worse than Pierzynski. But and then when the news kind of, what's his name?
Craig Albernez.
Yeah, see, Albernez. Yeah, just what I said. But yeah, people that knew that are in this organization, not in the organization, but know way more about it than I do, were just kept hearing that it was going to be Grady. So they stuck to their word. They went outside the organization for a guy that was in uniform. So, I mean, that's exactly what they did, and good for him. And I hope Will Venable does a great job and leads the White Sox to more wins than they had last year.
Don't you think if they did end up hiring Sizemore, it would have sent a message to many other employees at the White Sox that it's still more of the same? And it doesn't even have to do with Grady, but I do think that they keep feeling like they're like, what is it called? Like a hamster running a wheel.
Yeah, well, I said that but I've been saying that for a while now. Mm-hmm. That when Grady was listed as the manager, I was like, if they hire him, that's just a bad thing. Because first of all, if you're the GM, you're Chris Getz, and you come out and say we're hiring somebody outside the organization, and then you don't, then you're like, you kind of lose credibility, mm-hmm. right? So you can't. There was no reason for Chris Getz to say anything. He's like, we're going to hire a new manager. He could have said.
Well, you could have said out of house but you have to be serious about it. And also, we always have to keep in mind who makes the ultimate call in baseball in everything.
Well, for the White Sox, it's Jerry Reinsdorf.
Right, but for most teams, the person who can overrule anyone is the person who is the controller of the team. And yes, in Jerry's case, that's Jerry. And you can read a lot of great literature that's come out in the past year on decisions Jerry has made. And also, if you want to read about the Tony La Russa call. That was Jerry by himself. That's my friend. I want him running the team right now. You getting any good questions here? William, Southside needs grit. What do you say? Need a TA7. Abrams franchise.
I don't know.
Talking about Tim Anderson.
TA7 is Tim Anderson. I don't know who Abrams is though. Stacey Abrams.
I don't know.
No,
CJ Abrams.
CJ Abrams ain't going anywhere.
Yes.
Great player,
CJ
but he ain't going
Abrams.
anywhere. He's on the
CJ Abrams got sent to the bushes this year for showing up late and hustling.
He's in Syracuse.
True. No calls for AJ. Can we confirm that?
I can definitely confirm that I did not get a call. I was told by Chris Getz I did not fit the criteria, as Lee Ilya once said.
What's the criteria?
The criteria was somebody that was in uniform and not in the organization. I said, well, I told him right to his face, I go, I'm not in the organization, and I help coach my son's team, so I'm technically in uniform. Does that count? He's like, you know what I meant. So, but
all right. Well, good luck. Let me see if there's any other questions here. But anything else we should be saying? Otherwise, we'll see what happens. And Ryan, why would Venable decline jobs in previous off seasons and then take this job? You never know what's going on with someone's family. Will Venable played for a decent amount of time. Probably made good money in his life as a player. You don't need to just jump at anything, anytime. You never know. Families like, hey, Chicago's a spot where we would live, where we want to plant down.
But again, he coached for the Cubs, so he knows Chicago.
So there you go.
I think he played. Did he play for the Cubs too?
No,
I think he did. No,
he didn't play for the Cubs.
I think he spent a little time there. Let's go back.
I know he was a coach there. He was a first base coach.
No, just a coach. But he was a coach like right when he was done playing. He played for the Rangers. He played for the
Dodgers
Padres,
at the end. It's mostly Padres.
Yeah, mostly Padres.
It was most Padres, and then 1 year Texas for a small amount of time, or second half of a season with San Diego, moved to Texas, and then finished his career 12 games to the Dodgers. But almost all his career with San Diego, and did some nice things. He had some nice numbers in his time with San Diego. Had some above average offensive seasons. Was a productive player there.
I hope the White Sox interviewed a lot of people from outside the organization, because I know my buddies, different people I know that have interviewed, have gotten managerial jobs, but also have interviewed for others, coming from different organizations. Some of them felt like I wasn't even going to be considered for this job. All they wanted was to extract information from me. And at the time I was kind of like, bro, that's so brutal. Like, why would you just take the time, waste somebody's time if you're not actually going to hire them? And I heard that countless times. Now I look at it, I'm like, it's actually kind of genius. Like, you listen to, hey, how did you build the lineup? Hey, what were the key things that you were looking for? And you're gaining a lot of information from other organizations that you'll never gain that information from.
Smart organizations generally do that. And I will say this to defend that. You never know what happens. Like, look up the Mets GMs for a little stretch where they ran through like 5 of them. Guys got in trouble. You never know. Suddenly you don't agree on a contract. They do a background check. Someone fails. And they go, remember when we interviewed so-and-so and we were trying to get info, but we actually really liked him? Let's call him back. So I think you always take that. If you're into it, you got to trust that they are going to give you the time and attention, and then you get to network. If you're trying to get a job, I think it's great. I'm a big fan of that. It's networking in baseball, which we always need more of. Yeah. So I'm a fan. All right. So we'll see what happens. White Sox with a new beginning with Will Venable.
Congratulations, Will Venable.
Yeah. I mean, the roster sure has work to do, but at least you're bringing someone in from the outside to see what happens. And he interviewed with the Marlins. So did he not get it, or did he turn it down? We don't know that for sure yet, do we? Not yet.
I don't know. Have we even heard a list of candidates for the Marlins?
I think we saw a few.
Oh.
Right?
Not Skip Schumacher.
Not Skip Schumacher.
I haven't seen a list. AJ, how many wins? How many wins is a good improvement for the White Sox this year?
If they get to 42 next year, they improve. That's a good improvement for them.
For you, what is it?
If they went to 60 next year, depending on free agency and who they trade for, because I also heard Crochet was almost guaranteed to be traded. So depending on who they trade for, I still think 60 is a good number.
3-year contract on our way out. Do you want it with the Marlins or the White Sox?
I asked that question. I mean, I want it personally.
Yeah. Well, you're different.
I was going to say, I wasn't going to say the Marlins.
You were going to say the Marlins?
You'll never know.
I was going to say the Marlins because I'm a Miami guy. Who are you going to say? But I'm taking that out in all seriousness. I would actually say the White Sox. Yeah, same. There's a little more of a ceiling
I've
there.
also heard Grady Sizemore will be on his staff or in the organization.
Oh, you did? Okay. That's news. That's newsy.
I don't have that confirmed, but there's rumors.
There might be a new owner in the next month or two.
No.
Not sure about that?
I wouldn't go with that. I wouldn't run with that, sir.
Rotting.
Everything's for sale, Scott, if someone makes you a stupid offer. Right? Like, sure. If I'm Jerry Reinsdorf and I have the White Sox and some crazy guy comes to me and goes, well, the franchise is worth $1.5 billion. I'll offer you $3 billion, Jerry.
Right. Or
sold.
The city's not giving you money, and so maybe it gets floated that a Nashville group's going to buy it, and it makes the city scared, but the city's not budging. We'll talk about it. Foul territory. We'll see you 1 o'clock Eastern every single weekday. Thanks for watching. Congrats, Will Venable. Have fun.